sort of light bulb moment of, oh my God, I want to do that?
Influential teacher along with Shakespeare.
I was actually originally going to be a doctor.
Musicals is kind of where it started for me.
Really just took a lot of courage to be like, Mum, Dad, I'm going to do acting.
I knew that I wanted to go to drama school.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to go to drama school.
And to be 17 and be able to just jump into the industry.
You have to root for yourself.
Yeah.
If I sit in a room long enough, I'm going to make something.
Unless you're like Meryl Streep, then you play like transformational characters.
Just Meryl Streep.
Sending a selfie to my mum saying, I've made it.
If you've spent any time in the audience of Sydney Theatre Company, you've probably be familiar with this very charming, very charismatic Anthony Taufa. Anthony is a 2009 NIDA graduate who has worked across Melbourne and Sydney in stage and screen. He has performed with STC in an impressive range of productions, from New Australian Works, How to Rule the World and Black is the New White, the national tour, to classics such as Cheery Soul and the highly anticipated and awarded adaptation of Shaw's Saint Joan. At Griffin Theatre, he has appeared in Lee Lewis's direction of The Misanthrope, and he has worked extensively with Bell Shakespeare. He began his journey with Bell as a member of The Players, a touring ensemble of professional actors who deliver the Bard's work in schools across Australia, designed to challenge and inspire young minds and open an accessible door to Shakespeare. At Darlington Theatre, he's performed in Man with Five Children and 10,000 Beers, great name. And over the course of his career, he's played the role of Othello numerous times, including with Sydney's Shakespeare Company. In screen, Anthony has had the roles in likes of feature films Down Under, Zombie Bro, and the musical comedy Super Awesome. I mean, that's 3 awesome names right there. And television series Top of the Lake, China Girl. I don't know why I inflected there. It sounded like there was more coming. And TV series Top of the Lake, China Girl. There we go. Anthony is also a father and has recently been profiled by Sportscraft for Father's Day. Can I start with that? That is awesome.
Yeah, Father's Day was amazing. I'm actually wearing the shirt from the shoot. So the clothes are pretty expensive, which is amazing to have clothes that are, not just bought at a supermarket shopping mall.
Absolutely. You made it now. You have sponsors who are sponsoring your clothing.
And I'm wearing labels. So wow. It's amazing.
That is beautiful. Not a sponsor of this podcast, but so happy to have them here.
Exactly. And it was a good thing to do because I had my kids there and I got to take one of them out of school. He was wrapped. And now he says I owe him at least 33.3% of the paycheck. So, because it was the 3 of us on the shoot. And it went really well. It was good fun.
Yeah. How did that come about?
Someone at Sportscraft had a team member that had seen Sydney Theatre Company shows and knew someone who worked downstairs who then contacted STC and said, do you have any actors that we could sort of profile for Father's Day?
Wow.
And I was mentioning, I thought, what a great idea to earn money, especially during these times.
Absolutely.
And to get a bunch of cool clothes.
Absolutely.
Which I'm happy to wear.
And some really cute photos.
Exactly, with my kids, because
kids.
That makes my mum happy.
Absolutely, mum's amazingly happy. And your mum's in Melbourne, right?
Yeah, she's in Melbourne, doing lockdown.
Yep,
That's
and probably very happy to receive photos of kids during this time.
And like bright, happy, like well positioned, well shot photos.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that.
So you started in, did you grow up in Melbourne? Is that where you come from?
Yes.
Melbourne bred. And so what was your what initially inspired the theatre spark?
I think I was in year 7 and the person who was running our drama department, not that I knew what drama was in year 7, started doing High School Musicals. And the first musical they did was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Great.
And my brother was in it, my older brother, and I thought he was the coolest dude in the school because he was singing and dancing and people really liked him. So I signed up to do The Wiz, the black version of The Wizard of Oz.
Amazing! Wow!
And I was the leader of the Flying Monkeys, the following school production. So the director, Chris Button, who's now teaching at the VCA High School in Melbourne, he's very good and influential, and he's the one that kind of inspired me to join and sing and dance, and And
this was all when you were that young?
Yeah,
Wow.
year 7, year 8. And having some sort of direction.
Yeah.
And knowing that you could perform and be lauded for it as opposed to just being a class clown and having detention and being suspended or...
Is that what
being
life
annoying.
looked like at year 7?
I think so.
Yeah.
Year 7
Right, yes. That's amazing. And did you get to go to, did you get to do drama in high school? Did you go to a specialist drama school or anything like that?
Not in high school. I just had electives in year 11 and 12 that
Yeah.
could do drama. And I was really fortunate to be at a very good public school that had access to extracurricular activities like the Youth Globe Shakespeare Festival, which was a national initiative to help younger performers learn about Shakespeare, learn about Bard. So I was very happy and was chosen as a finalist to go to Canberra, of all places. Super exciting.
Super exciting. It's what we all dream of. Yeah.
16-year-old kid from Melbourne. But it had sort of all different performers from all states and territories in Australia, and I think that was the biggest push for me to... That not only can you enjoy yourself, but you can learn a lot about the world and other people.
Absolutely. Was it from year 7, that first experience, that you were like, yep, this is what I'm going to do?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that there was a path for it. I kind of was just enjoying myself, and it made school more fun.
Yeah, just so important.
And education more fun. That I was needing to learn about the royal families of, the Tudor England and Elizabethan England, and wanting to know about the ancient Greek history in order to inform stuff that I was reading in Shakespeare, even though it was such a foreign concept of Shakespeare to me. So yeah, it was an influential teacher along with Shakespeare that kind of sort of sparked that sort of excitement for drama, excitement for theatre.
Yeah. When did you know that you wanted to pursue this professionally?
I still don't know.
We'll figure it out one day. Yeah.
But that's my ultimate dream would be to work professionally and not to have a day job, not to have concerns. And I think even I was watching something, Stephen Colbert, the late night show, talk show host in the States, was talking to Steve Carell. So two guys have massive careers, but they're talking about how they're concerned about, if I quit my job as a talk show host, then what do I do? And I'm like, if those guys are concerned about the next gig, like those are the things that normal people like myself are concerned with all the time.
Yeah,
but
never gets easier.
That pressure just mounts, and the ideas that he could never go back and work at a bank.
Yeah.
Because aren't you Stephen Colbert? Did how you have fallen? But he's just another human being. So I think a career that supports me and my family, so not having to have an extra day job, and also just peers, like having your friends that you work with, having their respect, having their admiration. I think is a massive part of what drives me to want to stay in this profession, because it's really tough.
Yeah,
it's really tough.
Absolutely. Do you still have a day job? Do you still have to, or have you?
Well, not at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
COVID, everybody. Yes, thank you.
A couple of years ago, I'm talking to Brandon about it too. Just stacking shelves. Yeah. Stacking shelves for probably 3 months of the year, and then bits and pieces of ad work and theatre work. So it's constantly on my mind. Finding different streams of getting cash in, because it's having a family and being in the theatre is a financial
and you're both actors too, so you really chose well done there.
I always thought if you have an actor in a relationship, the actor needs to have a civilian next to them, someone that's sane of mind and body, that can pull you down from the stars just to keep you grounded. So I'm very fortunate. The first actor I've been with is my wife.
Wow.
I always try to avoid the idea that two actors would just implode.
Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate to have a really supportive wife who's much more intelligent than I am, much more technically minded than I am, and would make a great director too. So
yes, and I have seen her perform. She's absolutely fabulous performer. I can't wait to get to work with her one day. I applaud you for that. I think I quit acting pretty early on. I mean, I went to directing instead. I don't know how, because Brandon, my partner, is a performer, and I don't know if I could have done the double form. I think just even looking up at that other person, being like, oh, you got that gig. I don't know. I think it would be really hard.
I think so too, and I know it's not, because my wife and I have had this discussion, because it is so complex, and it's not that she's jealous of me working. She just wants to have the opportunity to have like an ongoing connection with a certain company, or have opportunities to get work. Yeah. And I think it's so much harder for women. So much harder for women. It is very hard for women. Getting older, and that women have certain expectations when they become parents, where guys don't. No one has ever asked me when I've stepped in a rehearsal room, who's looking after your kids?
Wow, how interesting.
Ever. Yeah. Where my wife will have that in a rehearsal room as a constant. Wow. So I think those pressures, I'm very privileged to have been born a man.
Well, I think, man or woman, you have done incredible things, and incredible things that other men have certainly not done. So I think, yes, there's a combination of things going at play there.
Thanks, Lucy.
Let's take it back to, and obviously you're just saying about how being part of a theatre company, having a long-term relationship, you've very much succeeded to do that. I think the Sydney Theatre Company doesn't have a core company, but if it did, you'd be in it. You're very much in that circle. So we'll circle back to that and how you got to be there. But we'll continue back at the beginning of your journey. So you're in high school. You've decided that you're definitely following the acting path in those later years. Were you academically or minded at that point, or was it just you were following a creative path more strongly?
I remember loving English. Yeah. And getting A's in English was easy and fun and fun. But something like maths or information technology, I really struggled with because I didn't care or wasn't passionate about it. So drama and music and performing was an avenue for me to... And also, this is like a psychological awakening for me, was that I always wanted to prove something to my older brothers. I had older brothers.
I was the same. I had exactly the same journey with that.
It's weird. And only now that I've got children have I always thought, because when it becomes men trying to prove something to their dads, totally psychological, like a psychoanalytical trope that you can understand because it's young buck and older man. Yeah. But for me, it was always my brothers because they were so much better at sport, so much more smarter and charismatic than I was. And so I thought if I got into acting, that could be my thing, that these guys couldn't touch because they were good at cricket and they were good, state representatives for javelin. But I didn't have a thing, and acting became my community and my belonging. Which it's amazing to have that at such a young age, to find that passion and to be embraced by theatre and then embracing theatre yourself. So I think, I constantly am trying to prove myself to my brothers. And I've only realised that recently.
Yeah, wow. I was very aware of it. I had two sisters, older sisters, and exactly the same. The old ATAR or the university entrance score, all I wanted was to beat them. That's the only logic behind it. I didn't know what university I wanted to go to, but I had to beat my sisters. Yeah. Yeah, so I totally get that.
It's massive. Yeah. And how much effect that, what your expectations are as a kid then shape a lot of what you do today. It's weird.
Yeah, and my older sister was going through the drama program, and so then I did too, and here we are. So absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot there. So did you know you wanted to go to university?
Definitely. My mum was a mature age university student. Both my folks were born in Tonga and came out here in the 60s to Melbourne. Wow. And they always wanted us, like all migrant stories, wanting to have their kids have something better, to have more belonging in this country.
How do they feel about that being acting?
They were always supportive in respects to if I was passionate about it. Yeah, if I was lazy when I was learning a song for the musical production, or if I was lazy about learning lines or not doing some of the readings for English, they'd get on my back about it. Yeah, right. Because they still wanted me to have an education regardless of... and wanted me to be passionate about something, so...
Work hard for something, yeah.
Yeah, and as long as...
It's a great lesson, yeah.
It's amazing, and it's still amazing to me today, especially when I think about acting in my children. Yeah. That just by doing what I love is showing them that's an avenue.
Yeah.
So just be passionate about something. I think it's really important.
And be passionate about something and make it work. Yeah, work
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you go straight to NIDA from high school, or because I know you had another university, La Trobe. Where did that fit on the timeline?
So I graduated high school in 2000 and went to La Trobe University to study cinema studies. Just, again, like awesome passion of mine, but I didn't think I was going to become a movie reviewer or something to do with film. But I remember on the open day at La Trobe University, a lecturer saying, if you come to La Trobe, then this will open the doors for all the drama schools. Oh, okay, cool. Which is not the truth.
No, of course not. Yeah.
You can walk off the street, you can be like two guys in my year at NIDA were soldiers who had come out of ADF and then auditioned and got in. Someone was a stand-up comedian, someone was, so all these different avenues to try and get into drama schools. But
did you do the audition round your first year out, or did you go straight for that other option?
because I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah, wow.
Because I just thought acting was, getting on stage and giving it your all. And I did lots of amateur productions, did lots of acting at university. So many terrible, terrible shows.
Yes, you must. You must do the terrible shows.
And why not at university where only cool people would understand what we're doing here.
Yes,
only
right.
those with forward thinkers would not understand what we're doing with Peter Pan.
Yeah.
In our production with wooden swords. So I don't regret any of those days, and it fueled me. And I learned a lot at La Trobe, but I didn't know about drama schools really. I kind of was just wanting to act and wanting to feel that fire and that pressure, and it was really good.
Yeah, and you finished your degree there and everything?
Finished the degree in 2002 and went to China to teach English.
Wow.
And got terrified and came home. So I think the People's Republic.
Yeah.
I got a midnight train from from Hubei province to Shanghai to Sydney, and went home to Melbourne with my tail between my legs because I could not handle how different it was, and I was kind of like in Hubei province in Wuhan.
Oh my gosh.
Weird.
Here again? Yeah. You knew back then, you were like, there's something weird about this place.
It's happening.
It's going to happen.
Because at the time, bird flu was on.
Of course,
So, and it's known as the crock pot of China because it's so spicy. Everything's so spicy. So I remember being like, a 20-year-old kid there just going, what am I doing here? Trying to help teach people, but that didn't work out.
How long was that little stint?
Oh man, 3 weeks?
Yeah, great.
I went there like I'm going to help so many people, and no, I was taken in by the People's Republic, and it spat me out because I was not ready to do something's other stream.
Yeah, wow. So we had that. I also went to China when I was in high school, and I found it really overwhelming. I went to Shanghai. No, it was like I think my dad had a meeting there, and I was like, well, come, and I just found it, I've done quite a lot of Asia, and I love Asia, but China, man, it was just intense. Yeah, so I totally get that. Amazing. So you come back, and what's next?
I decide...
We're in 2002 or 2003 now, so there's a couple of years still between that and NIDA, right?
Yeah. And went into real estate.
Wow, okay, so you were like acting...
Yeah, I was acting, I was doing shows in Melbourne. Doing like amateur shows for Red Stitch Theatre and just did different spots and for the Melbourne Fringe Festival. Because it still was just a passion, and I didn't know that it's a professional part. I didn't know... there were people that were making money from it, but I just didn't know how to do that here in Australia, here in Melbourne. And so I had a new girlfriend who inspired me to audition, because she said, well, why don't you do these things? And I auditioned in 2005 and made the shortlist for NIDA. I didn't audition for any other schools.
Was that because you just didn't really know about them?
Oh,
Or you just had chosen your school?
And I wanted to escape any familiarity with being in Melbourne, so I didn't want to do VCA. And they were doing a lot of viewpoints. They were doing a lot of Anne Bogart technique, which that didn't call out to me in regards to learning theatre and learning about drama. And so I only auditioned for NIDA, and I didn't want to go to Perth. So I thought, that's way too far from me.
Yeah.
Sydney was good, Perth was too far.
Yeah, I'm a Whopper girl, so I hear it is the other side of the world.
So I went to Shanghai then.
But not Perth.
Yeah, no way, not Perth. That's way too far.
Yeah.
And auditioned for NIDA and was fortunate to be accepted.
So you got on your first try.
Second try.
I
was shortlisted the first time, and all the guys. And I'm so happy. Like it's fate that I was in the year that I was in, because I became like the dad of the year, and the year above me was much more ladsy, much more male oriented. I'm a male, but I mean, they had like 70% men.
Wow, I thought there was always 50-50 intake. Right.
And so
So we thought,
And so it should be.
I never understand that. Every time it hasn't been 50-50 at Whopper 2, it's always more men. I'm like, I don't understand. You go into the audition rooms and it's like woman, one man.
And so how does then that number come out? Yeah.
I guess they just know there's more roles at the other end for them.
Isn't that sad, man? That's an indictment on what we do.
Not that there's necessarily a bigger percentage of roles, but because there is less men, by them producing more men for that same amount of roles, it's a numbers game, I suppose.
It's full on.
Yeah.
Drama school was a lot of fun for me, but for a lot of people I know, it was not a lot of fun. You say you go through it either cotton mauled or barbed wire, and a lot of people went in there with a strong sense of self, and a lot of people went in there straight out of high school. Yeah. So.
You said you were the dad of the year. Were you the oldest? You what? 24 or something? You're quite young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was. First year was 23, 24. But I was one of the older ones because I'd done a lot of stuff that wasn't to do with acting. Yeah. I think that was really important for me. And I think I was more open to drama school because I had more sense of self, more sense and awareness. I was 24, 23, but...
I mean, it's pretty different to 18.
100%. Or, just coming straight out of high school and being, the top actor at your high school, and then you're coming out to NIDA, so then, like so all the identity you have is being an actor. And I think acting is brilliant and lovely, but I can compartmentalize that section of my life because I know my family, my children, my relationship with my wife is much more important than the job, than the work. So.
And I guess we always talk about that first year out of drama school, and I guess you kind of already at least had a sense of what that was going to feel like, which for lots of people, if they come straight from high school and then straight to NIDA.
Absolutely right. I'd paid a bill in my life. Yeah. I'd had financial worries before. So going to NIDA and, that having a HEX fee and stuff, it really nurtured the idea that I could just go in and just act, go in and be really examining and take the time to just really delve into stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise if I had a job, and that if I just did acting for an hour and a half after work, just wasn't enough. So drama school was perfect for me because I wanted to immerse myself, and it was so good to see other like-minded people that some would say is crazy, but I say are passionate. Like some would say over quite finicky about things, but in order to expand my mind, I needed to be around people that could nitpick, that could find nuance, detail in what acting was and what choices were and what the vocabulary around those things were, in order for me to be a better actor, to be a more aware human.
Yeah, definitely. And I've talked about it earlier today too, at the idea of when you do go not straight out of high school and you've done acting for a bit and you have your own ideas about what acting is, it can mean that you don't just take everything as gospel that you're being taught, and you can pick and choose a bit more, which I think is really important.
I think so too. and to know that the best resource you have is you.
Yeah.
Because directors have their own ideas of what they want, and producers have that in regards to film and TV. But in the end, you're going to have to search your own well to find what you need, and that somebody else cannot label you.
Yeah.
But you can do that for yourself. You can find, and so I think being an older actor, going into a drama school, was really helpful for me. For
that. So you had a positive experience in NIDA?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say about if you were to recommend a pathway to younger people, and particularly, drama school, no drama school, or which drama school? How, like you were saying that other people didn't have a good experience. Like, can you define that at all? Like, why you did, or like what about you, like, that others could relate to that you'd recommend it for, while others wouldn't?
Yeah, I think age of maturity and knowing yourself. But sometimes it's not in your control to get accepted or not accepted at a certain age.
Yeah.
And drama school doesn't have to be the only path.
Yeah.
I think lots of actors and lots of creators have made it through without having formal education. And I think it just gives you a stamp. And for me, I needed that legitimacy. I needed to be legitimised by an institution to say, yes you can. And so using that to then springboard into actually getting work for me, but it doesn't work for everybody. And some people that were great actors then went into drama school and then became lesser people, therefore then lesser actors, because of the experience being so intense. And then some people that were kind of flimsy about being in the industry then were solidified by that experience and made and created things out of that school. So I don't know, for younger people getting into drama school, it's important if you want to have a vocabulary around what you do. I think that's important. And it's important for networking as well, especially if you're in a city that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah, Sydney. I wonder what it would have been like to come to Sydney and just try and make it as an actor for you.
Had I not had formal training, it would have been a completely different experience. Not knowing people and not knowing how to talk about myself in regards to acting, in regards to drama. So there's many different paths, and I did a lot of terrible shows. I did a lot of in front of 20 people.
Yes.
Or getting my kid off for no good reason. But going up again, it's like I'm pushing against the norms. I'm finding these new bohemian ideals. But I think for younger people is to try to find a healthy sense of self in order to then be able to mine drama, mine different techniques, and just taking on board everyone's opinion with a grain of salt. Like just going.
I really believe that too. Yeah.
It's fine for everyone to have those beliefs, and in practice, it's tough. It's tough to just go, because we all want to be loved. We all want to be nurtured and taken care of. But in regards to, if you know yourself better, then you won't take people so literally or seriously or personally. You can actually separate those two things. So for younger actors it's tough, and because you're still trying to get to know yourself, you're still trying to find what you like and what your wants are and what.
Did you, if you hadn't got into NIDA, say, did you still want to move to Sydney? Was Sydney somewhere you wanted to be?
No. Yeah, I only moved to Sydney because of drama school.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it's a lot bigger. But I was in Melbourne last year. Yeah. Late last year, and I grew up there. And I've spent 14 years here in Sydney. Melbourne is huge and dense, just as much as Sydney is nowadays. So the idea that I had from 20 years ago, from what Melbourne was compared to Sydney, they're both massive cities.
Absolutely.
That are really fast-paced and fast-moving.
Yeah. And now with all the commercial work going to, in terms of Harry Potter and those big commercial musicals, you can
make a lot of money in the profession now. Because I did so many amateur productions in Melbourne, and you could work all the time in Melbourne and not pay rent.
Yes.
Or you could come to Sydney and there's more opportunities for commercial work, for making money. And neither is better or worse. It's just for me, theatre became my community. In regards to the only people I know here in Sydney were theatre people.
Yeah.
Who are people in the industry. I really love people in the industry.
Yeah.
So
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
That would be real bad if you didn't.
but in lots of rooms where I don't like people.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have that as my base is the industry, is theatre.
Yeah. Yeah. And was Bell Players, was that kind of one of the first things you did post NIDA?
Yeah, so we did Titus Andronicus with Cry Havoc, who was a small startup theatre company from NIDA. So it was Kate Revs and Shum and Jai Courtney.
Yeah, great.
Like some massive people. What at the time were new grads. But they'd started up their own theatre company, and so we did that at ATYP.
Great. We love ATYP.
And what a space that is next to that water.
Not there anymore, but soon, yes.
Yeah, the return.
Yeah, the return will come.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yes.
And Shakespeare was definitely the touchstone for me for measuring what good theatre would be. And my opinion's changed now. But going to drama school and coming out, like it was on my bucket list is to work for a Bell Shakespeare company. Because I'd seen them when I was a kid. I'd seen awesome, high energy Shakespeare. Yeah. That didn't pander to little kids. Yeah. But I could understand, for some reason, their productions I could understand were accessible for me. Yeah.
Was that through, had you seen the Bell Players or had you seen the professional?
The big shows.
Same with me in Perth, that's what I
saw.
I
saw Troilus and Cressida, and they were all nude on stage. Great. And 14-year-old me was like, what are they? This is amazing. How brave these people are.
I will one day get my kit off also. Yeah.
I'll show you. I'm going to be part of that.
Yeah.
And so I remember meeting John Bell for the first time, doing the Players, and sending a selfie to my mum saying, I've made it. You know what I mean? Like, that is the pinnacle. And, it's still up there. It's still up there for ideas of what I thought could be achieved in theatre in this country. Yeah. So I was really happy to have Shakespeare and create Shakespeare that was accessible and to create a world where if you could speak right or understand English, then Shakespeare was for you. There was no elitist idea about it.
That's so great.
I think that was really important. That's what Bell did and still does today, is make it much more of a viable idea for young actors, and that people are more accepting of Shakespeare cross-cast in different races and different genders. And so I'm so happy to have worked for the company and still work for the company, because I remember that being inspirational for me as a kid.
Yeah, and it must have been amazing to be part of the Players and kind of take that to kids.
Man, the Players was the ultimate barometer for what you could put up with. So you're getting up at 6:30 in the morning, you're driving somewhere with 3 other people, sun is on, because it's 6:30. Which actor wakes up at 6:30 a.m?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then drive to a school, set up banners, put on your whatever props and costumes that you have, perform 3 shows back to back. The worst really is 8 and 9 boys who are
absolutely
hormonal and just crabby to be there at 9 a.m. in a gym.
Yes.
And watch these 4 adults act like fools, act like idiots. And so it was the best stomping ground because it made me ready for any situation. If you're doing the hard yards, and then I did the main stage play, and it was so much easier.
Yeah.
I didn't have people screaming in. People were actually respectful.
Wow, you don't need NIDA, you just need the Players.
You have to really define where you are and what you're willing to put up with.
Yes. I know I've talked to another actor, Jeremy Campese, about his experience on them. He was saying one time they were at a Catholic school and they all just had to stop and pray in the middle of the freaking show. And they were like, what do we do?
Yeah. Would that ever happen on a main stage production?
Absolutely not. But
it's amazing.
What an experience.
Yeah.
And what do you feel about youth drama, and do you think it's important for kids to engage in drama?
Oh yeah, definitely, because it's the experience on the job is experience on the job, regardless of, because you're going to learn stuff about what you're capable of doing, and you're going to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
I remember being 15 and painting sets for our High School Musical, and this is like 7 o'clock at night. Why would anyone want to keep like 4 hours after school to paint things to help other people? It's because it was part of belonging and part of
creating something bigger
than me.
Yeah.
And that other kids would benefit from, and you'd go, nobody else knew that I painted that tree on the background, but I did. So youth theatre is good for resilience and just learning more about other aspects of theatre and not just the acting part, because there's always a hierarchy that some actors think that they're top of the rung when it comes to it, but we all want to make good theatre. We all want to put into a show to make it the best show that we can. So learning how to stage manage, learning how to set a light, how to rig, get up a ladder safely, and I think is important so that you know when you are on a main stage production that you're gonna be nice to people. Yeah. Because one day they can be your boss. Yeah. So, and that's not the only reason, but in order to fulfill you and to make you yourself more useful. Yeah. Yeah. So I think experiencing theatre will make you more resilient when you're not getting work when you're older.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You can create your own stuff. You
can
have your own ideas. So.
Yeah. Have you done much of that yourself? Have you dabbled in other types of like writing or producing or anything like that? Yeah.
So I've written a lot of stuff that I'm afraid to show people.
Show the light of day. Yep. In a closet somewhere.
Yeah. It's on a computer, and it's been rebooted so many times, and I keep thinking I've got to touch on that. But it's also teaching. And
yes, teaching artists, absolutely.
Teaching drama, I think, is really important and fun. And so finding other avenues to keep your mind occupied, because acting can only be enhanced if you have other life experiences. Like that'll fuel what you do on stage, because you have more to draw from. You have more experiences and more challenges, and the mistakes that you're making, you will learn from in order to then. Okay, so my father passed away 11 years ago, and I remember standing there in utter despair, in so much sadness and pain, and thinking to myself, log this physically. What are you doing? So that you can use it again on stage. What a horrible
You
idea.
psychopath.
I was oh my god, this is great.
Wow.
But also, I think that's the mindset as creative people, you stand just on the outside of what normal people do. You stand just on the outside to then examine what a normal reaction would be, just to cry and be there. Yeah. But for me, it was going all these immense things. But what is happening to you? Yeah. Physically, psychologically. I think in order to best recreate. Emotions and do it organically and do it from a place of being healthy as well. Yeah. Doing it from a place that you have perspective on the situation. The psychology behind acting.
Oh yeah. What a minefield.
Yep.
Yeah. That is speaking of which, how do you have you done any really intense roles where you've been kind of challenged to stay safe?
Yeah, I think Othello was always that role for me.
And how many times have you done Othello?
6 times.
We thought it was 6. Well, has it really been 6? That is insane. You've done Othello 6 times.
Because I remember seeing a bit from Saint Joan, who spoke about no matter how many times he's come to this role, more questions are asked. And I've lived that experience in regards to being 17, playing Othello, being a person of colour. Yeah. That's the role you're going to take. You're going to do one of three roles in Shakespeare. You're going to do Othello, you're going to do Aaron the Moor from Titus Andronicus, and you're going to do Prince of Morocco from Merchant. So, Othello was that big challenge. I've always wanted to play Iago, but Othello has as a 17-year-old, I remember playing that role and saying, you know, F the world. That was my mentality about being so, feeling that racism and in this environment and in this time. Yeah, I think it's something that conversation is starting to happen more often for more people. But at 17, I thought it's F the world, everyone's racist, and they're going to get it, in my mindset. Like,
yeah. Must be. I would have loved to see that production. That would be powerful.
Oh, but it was also uncontrolled. There was also just so much bluster without actual grounding, without like a direction. It was just...
Yeah.
It was just sprayed on without any concern for any other people, any other players, without any concern for what the division was, because all it was me just wanting to rage and let everyone feel my passion. But then more and more I play the role, the more the betrayal sets in, the more the loss of love and the loss of trust between a couple. Like, that is the thing. There's the thing. Like, that's the driving force behind it. He's unaware that he can't communicate himself to his wife and trusts a friend of his over her. So that betrayal that they have had an affair behind my back, that is so much more of an emotion that can drive more of those actions than just pure anger. Just more than just letting go. No, it's actually trying to keep control, to find out more information, to find out why she would betray me, to find out how my best friend, how all these things come together to. And I don't advocate domestic violence, but the ideas behind playing that character, it put me in a brooding mood constantly, where I had to just stay suspicious. I had to stay looking at someone and go, I don't know if you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And so the way to handle it, I don't know if I did. I just kind of brood for the 5 months. Or whatever.
Did you feel that toll? Did you take a toll?
Yeah, definitely. Because I started to feel more frustrated easily. I started to feel more angry easily. And because opening that door for me, I find it hard to get angry. That's a definite character flaw. Some would say, good, that's a good thing. And sometimes for acting, sometimes it's not good to not be able to access those things. You know, like right to be at your grasp. So when I was doing that for Othello, I could feel myself just being a bit more standoffish from people. And it's tough. It does. It takes a toll physically. It takes a toll on your relationships.
Yeah.
But, and then there's other times where I play murderers and I'm going,
chill.
This is easy.
Yeah.
What are we having for dinner?
Yeah. Do you feel like you've learned to these days? Like, do you think you have a process at all for looking after yourself during those harder roles? From doing, maybe the 6th time you figured it out.
Yeah. And I think also being able to talk to other people that are not in the production. Because you get caught up when you're doing plays because they're super intense, super intimate, and the whole, like, you tell cast members and directors things that you'd never tell your best friend.
Yeah.
Like that one moment that you had of vulnerability, you wouldn't say that to your best friend because you wouldn't want them to judge you. But in an environment where you're getting into huge, in-depth conversations about your life, you end up revealing stuff that's amazing. So I think being able to talk to people outside of the production on an emotional level, I think is helpful for me. And I think it also comes with maturity too. Recognizing, I always thought a cardinal sin when people say it's just a job. I thought that was the worst thing you could say about acting, because I hold it with so much reverence that I think it can't just be a job. It's got to be more than that. But I can see how you could separate yourself. Like when you're on the job, you give it everything. All your passion, all your homework that you've done, all your investigative ideas that you've had, you put that on. But as soon as you leave, you've got to leave that on the floor.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair all your other relationships that aren't in the theatre.
And when those shows go for months on end, you know, it's not that for you either. I mean, it's just,
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did comedy variants 193 times.
Oh my gosh.
But it's good because it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's...
Othello 193 times would have been.
Would be grueling.
Yeah.
And I know people have played Hamlet and people have played,
Yeah.
you know, the Scottish play. Like, they're psychologically tough. Like, yeah, doing that for 193 times would not be fun.
Yeah.
It'd be quite taxing.
Would be quite taxing. You must have done Othello about 193 times or more now, all up.
Yeah. And because it's been
Add those
different
together,
productions,
yeah.
been different Desdemona's, been different directors' views, so it's always been fun to try and find new ways to look at the same role and the same script.
And have you managed to keep that up all 6 times? You feel like you... Yeah, was it, did it ever get taxing? Was it ever like, this again?
No, it was never that. Because it feels like that old album that you play.
Yeah.
In my mind, as Mum and Dad's, it's Fleetwood Mac's Rumours. Like, you know, it's that old album where you go, oh, it's still good.
Yeah.
Like, you still listen to it and you go, I've heard this a million times. It's still good. You hear Rihanna and you go, I love this track. I forgot that track's there. And you hear Stevie Nicks' voice. But like, just in regards to, like, it's such a good play, and most of the good lines go to Iago. You know what I mean?
One day we're going to give you an Iago.
Yeah,
Damn it. I'll direct it. I'll make it happen, okay? Yeah.
And just be in cahoots with the audience and you know, get them on side.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Absolutely. How do you feel about being an actor of colour in this industry? In Australia, I mean, have you felt barriers with that?
I've been very privileged to be constantly working for an actor, just in general. As a person of colour, and people much more educated and smarter than me can speak on this much better than I can. And so my experiences of being in a rehearsal room and being the only person of colour in that room, can be quite taxing.
Yeah.
Like, that's a difficult idea for many white creatives to understand that isolation in a rehearsal room.
I can imagine it being particularly intense when you're doing a play like Othello, where you actually are dealing with those themes, and you're like, I'm the only one who can speak on this. Yeah.
And where someone's saying sooty bosom, and everyone goes, oh, that's that's a really racist term.
Yeah.
Like, in regards to being ashy skinned, and I think so. It's compounded by not only the rehearsal room, but then the front of house people and the admin of the company, the heads of the company, and then the audiences that come to watch. So I find myself always trying to find another coloured person, another person of colour to just lock eyes with, to feel that belonging. And so, and it hasn't been overt. So, and I think most of the racism I've experienced hasn't been overt racism, especially in the industry. And because it's the arts industry where we're quite progressive and liberal, ideas about how to talk to people of colour about their experiences can be a bit skewed. To say to someone, this is a safe space, tell me about your experience, is saying, tell me your trauma and then I'll let you know that it's okay. Yeah. No. Like, that, all those ideas behind people trying to bridge is admirable, but at the same time can be quite triggering for people who've had those experiences. And black fellas in this country have experienced it much, much worse than I have. And so trying to listen and educate ourselves and find out more about other people's experiences, I think, is essential. And also hiring people of colour in different roles. And you don't just have to have the token. You can have other people of colour in order to just have that feeling of... So that you don't feel isolated. So you don't have to constantly having to explain to people your life experience, which is, when I worked on Black is the New White, was the complete opposite. Where I was part of the majority of people of colour, and my experiences didn't need to be explained, didn't need to be apologised for, didn't need to explain culturally why I was there, explain away my culture in order to fit into the play that we're doing.
And of course you've done Blackest and White too, so you've done 2 of Nikia's plays, which is,
And How to Rule the World is amazing.
Yeah.
Blackest and White's amazing. And having someone like Nikia, who is articulate and able to put arguments across, because she's a lawyer and she's much more educated and well-read than I am in regards to race and politics in Australia. Like, it's amazing to watch her speak, to her speak her truth, and to watch her ability to articulate what race relations are in this country and how we could further progress dialogue around it. So I'm fortunate enough, again, and this is thanks to theatre, to be involved in conversations in rehearsal rooms that only a privileged few have, and I've been one of those people in a black rehearsal room to be able to, and that's like an injected life into Australian theatre, is black theatre. Black theatre in this country has given a new breath to theatre, which I think is super important.
So important, absolutely.
And I'm privileged to have been part of those conversations.
Yeah.
So good.
Do you feel like you've seen change in your, 10 plus years in the industry?
Yeah, I have, because there's more platforms to find the creative way through the industry, and I think it's super important to have women as well in positions of power. And I love working with female directors. Again, that's where there's some familiarity with being on the outside. There's some familiarity of not having your story be the centre.
Yeah.
Not you being neutral. There's something else that's neutral. That's not your story. So I definitely think there's been an expanding of ideas and casting in the world. And I think that's also got to do with education as well. I think access to drama schools and access to talking about it and visibility of people of colour making their way in the industry has allowed younger people to see that there is an avenue for that, and that you can make money, you can have a career in this industry and survive financially, because there's more people doing it, there's more visibility around it, and there's more opportunities. It seems like, for me. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I had Chika Kogwe in here earlier. We were talking about a similar topic and how Australia has been a bit slower, really, than the UK or the US. Have you ever had any drive to try it overseas, to do that?
Yeah, I entered the lottery for the green card in the States and got it.
Oh, did you?
But this was in between having 2 kids.
Wow.
Which made the idea of being in the States without a green card for my wife to be over there and to have a second baby in the States in 2016. Oh no, it was 2015 that we got the green card.
Yeah.
It would have been a different, it would have been a different situation having kids over there and trying to make it in the States. Yeah. And in regards to London, I think the English are very pro-English.
Yes.
It's a really tough industry to crack into if you're not English.
Yeah, that's so true, actually.
Where the Americans embrace other. So, us in LA with 2 kids, I don't think we would have survived. So doesn't mean I'm against the idea of
COVID will make it harder.
Yeah.
You stuck here for a bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And imagine being in New York and stuck in a hotel for 2 months, and then going out and being endangered by the disease.
The disease, absolutely. Wow, amazing. I've got to ask you a question it's our favourite question to ask, because every kid wants to know. How do you learn the lines?
Process has changed for me
Great.
a lot. In the beginning it was by rote. This is actually learning word by word. But what I found the most important and the better way to get out of your head is to learn the thoughts. So what are you thinking rather than what are you actually saying will then help motivate what you're saying anyway. And this will be better in the long run for when you're learning how to relate to the other players. is learning the thoughts of the character, learning your own thoughts, and then getting up on the floor quickly as well.
Do you find that you learn the better on the floor?
100%.
Yeah.
Body memory then locks it in, it solidifies whatever you've learned. Because you still need to do homework, and that homework should be done before day one of rehearsals, that you sort of read the play maybe 5 times through, read your scenes maybe 20 times through, and just sort of at least finding out the who, what, where, why, and when.
Yeah, that's Stanislavski idea. Yeah, absolutely.
So doing all that homework and then forgetting about it and being open to the suggestions of the other players and the director in order to fulfill your character. And so line learning can become about what does your character want? What are their thoughts? And also your breathing too. How do you learn lines? Practice. And it's a muscle. Memory. Your memory is a muscle that you've got to keep in form. Yeah. And Shakespeare's a bit different too, because you can just use the rhythm. You can use the I ams to actually learn, flow that way.
Yeah. What do you think? So I've talked to some actors who are quite against learning their lines, say before rehearsal, because they think that will lock in something. How do you feel about that? Do you think it's good to come in with some lines down, or do you think it's better not to?
I think it's better not to, in regards to, and I know a lot of actors don't have that process, but I know in my own brain that if I'm locking in lines before I've come to rehearsal, I will lock in the emotions, I will lock in the thoughts. So I find that more freeing to not have learnt my lines, but definitely do work on them, to learn why you'd be saying them.
Yeah.
But to learn, it's hard not to learn lines before you come in and not have learnt reactions.
Yes.
So if you've come in with a set idea and the other player that you're playing with and the director telling you something else, like, you've got to be open for that. So I think it's a double-edged sword to learn your lines. Unless you have big chunks of monologues, learn your monologues.
Yeah.
That's always going to be helpful for the rehearsal process. But in regards to scenes where you're talking with somebody else, I think it's really tough not to then preempt your reactions.
Yeah.
So don't learn your lines fully.
Too much. Yes. Yes. That's great. On that note, similarly, we've talked about you being at NIDA and you taking everything with a pinch of salt, learning so many different techniques. Is there any techniques, theorists, or anything like that you have held on to that you, and we've just talked about Stanislavski, but is there anything that you have used more?
I remember just entry points. So psychological, physical, emotional entry points, which I remember kind of ties in with Laban. So if you're physically able to do something, then that's able to be repeated even if you feel like crap on Tuesday night, or even if there's nobody there on the Thursday or a Saturday matinee. You still need to have a discipline to be consistent, have a discipline to be able to have a performance so the integrity of the performance is not lost by you getting bored. And so having that discipline to start from that moment.
Going outside in,
So I think physically, if you can repeat something, it's good. Because if you enter something emotionally, it's really hard to do the same emotion at 8:30 a.m. at our time in public school, and then you've got to try and repeat that 60 times in the week. It's really tough to try and find that psychological trigger. And I think that works really well with film and TV, because you've only got one crack at it, so you need to come all guns blazing. But in order for longevity and consistency and discipline, you need to be able to find something that can be repeated.
Yes. Yeah, Chekhov talks about that too, the psychological gesture idea of having a gesture that would trigger an emotion. Which
I think is easier to access than something psychological. It's so much harder to have that, again, consistently.
And connect with it,
100.
Absolutely. You talked before about your father passing away and remembering that. Have you ever used that?
Oh, yeah. I haven't used the exact ideas and emotions from that moment, but just definitely, I think it was just accessing any extreme emotion that I had to go through. So, allowing yourself to be open enough to go there. So I think those massive, like, watershed moments, like you've got to clock them, right? And trying to stay present is the hardest thing. So it's a great idea intellectually, but to stay present with someone is a really tough thing to do.
To be there with your dad, but then you're there with your scene partner. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, advice that I can give about being present is, it really comes down to doing your homework, so that you trust that nobody else in the room, probably in the world, would know that character and that moment better than you, because you've done your work on that one word, on that goddamn or the whatever it is. But I think that's a good fallback for me when I am feeling either lazy or self-conscious and insecure, is to say that nobody else knows this role better than me right now in the world. So I think that's something that I rely on, is doing the homework enough to go, okay, cool, I'm open enough to hear people's perspectives, but in this moment I know that I'm going to make a choice for the director to see and for the other player to play against, and be open enough to change it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Acting is...
It's a minefield.
It's the best. It's the best times, it's the worst times. And even in the worst, you can still say, clock it. What are you feeling? How are you checking in? And like, the other way to get over that insecurity is to put your objective on the other person, is to seek your answers in the other person's eyes, or in the audience's eyes, or in the answers you're searching for exist in your world that the other players can give you. The other players can inform so much for you.
Yeah.
And it's life. It's the same thing you do in life.
So, do you warm up before a show?
Yeah. So I do a cryptic crossword.
Wow, that's a great warm up.
That's fun for my brain.
Yeah.
And then just do vocal trills, simple exercise that I learned at drama school, and then do like a physical warm up. Either do push-ups or something, but usually, because I'm a very sweaty guy, I'll do it a good hour before.
Yeah.
And sometimes have a shower before the show, just to make myself feel better.
How early do you get to the theatre?
Probably an hour and a half. So half hour before the call.
Yeah.
And it's just so I can have because I have kids, like that half an hour just before the 1 hour call, I can do whatever I want.
Yes.
I can just sit and blast music, and I won't annoy anybody else.
Yeah.
But I can just be in the dressing room and pop up music and do a crossword, do some stretches. So I think warm-up's a definitely important part, especially if you're doing the long run. If you're doing a long run of the show, it's really important to have routine. Yeah. To get in there, and sometimes I'll shave. Wow. Shaving then becomes part of my routine, because I cut my hair by myself.
Yeah.
And that way it saves on the budget as well.
Yes.
Even if you're on a main stage show, you still need to be able to try and find ways of not being a budget burden.
Yeah. I'm sure that's why they keep getting you back. They're like, this guy.
He's cheap.
Yeah.
He's
does
so
some
cheap.
hair.
Yeah. Perfect.
Which does bring me to another question I want to ask you, which was, you have made yourself part of the furniture at several of our, big theatre with Bell Shakespeare and STC. Do you have is there any advice you can give about how on earth you got to that? Is it all luck to get into those families, or is there any way that we can help others do that, get in those rooms?
It's definitely timing.
Yeah.
I was at NIDA when a lot of the heads of companies in the country were there either directing or acting.
Yeah. So I guess going to those drama schools really helps in that way.
Yeah.
With the connection building. Yeah.
And of course, that shouldn't be your driving force.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a foyer and looking for other people to talk to in order to climb that corporate ladder. Like, I don't think that's what acting in this country is.
Yeah.
But also maintaining those relationships, being professional, arriving early, being courteous to costume, being courteous to the front of house, being courteous to the casting agent. I think it's really important, which doesn't cost you much to be well mannered and to be respectful of everyone in the company. Because the industry's too small to be a douchebag. The industry's too small to be a diva. And that you don't want to have that be the reputation that you have going into an audition is they're going to be really tough to work with.
Yeah.
I think, like, try that stuff in LA. I think maybe it's more forgiving. But in the Sydney theatre industry, like, you've really got to be courteous.
Yeah.
It's got to be nice. That's my biggest piece of advice, is to be respectful.
Yeah.
And
And you talked about how, you know, you did do that stage management stuff and the light rigging. I'm sure that's all kind of played a part in that. You know, having empathy or like understanding of the other roles and, you know, not just treating them like crew, but treating them like collaborative members of this ensemble. Yeah.
Most definitely. Because the hierarchy in theatre shouldn't be director, actor, and everybody else.
Yeah.
Everyone should be working to, and everyone is.
Yeah.
From my experience, everyone is trying to make the production the best work that they've ever done. So, respecting, for instance, respecting someone's costumes, going in there and saying, just disrespecting the ideas, then you're disrespecting that artist. And the costume artist is just as much of an artist as the director is.
Yeah.
So you've still got to give them that respect. The sound engineer, the lighting designer, like, they're so important to make you look good, make you sound good, to make things appear on time. So I think it is really important to have a crack at their job and see if you can be a stage manager. Have a crack at being a lighting designer.
Yeah.
Just to see that the lights can come on that one time.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay, because we're all trying to make this great product that people want to come and see.
Absolutely. And maybe you'll diversify your income stream in the process.
Man, you need to have other hats.
Yes.
You can't just wear actor.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what a long-term career in the arts looks like in Australia. You've got to have hats.
Other things,
And have a wardrobe of hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll wrap up, but my last question for you is there any last words of wisdom for young emerging actors out there wanting to join our industry?
Yes. Is one big one is dare to forget. So once you've done all the homework, once you're on stage, once the lights come on for that first time, is just go. Dare to forget your lines, dare to forget everything, because it should be the first time. And it sounds like a cliche to say it's the first time you've ever said it in front of an audience, but you need to be reminding yourself of that, so that you come fresh and that you're trying to affect the other person and you're trying to find something new within the boundaries of what you and the other players and the director have created. Freak out in the form is something that Darren Gilshan, and I think he teaches here too, talks about, is that you have a point A and a point B. The way you're going to point B has been dictated by the script, the other actors and the director, but the way you walk is yours. The way you get to point B to get to that next cue is up to you. So there's so much agency that you have when you're on a stage, to find nuance in everyone's vision and not just your own.
Yeah. That's great. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here with us for our first series of Ask an Actor. Given us so much, and we can't wait to keep watching you on the stage. Come on, COVID, let us go back up there.
I'm dying to get back on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be there soon, don't you worry. She says, hopefully.
Yeah.
I know, for some reason, we all know.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.